Listen to the summary of Chapter 1, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read, written by Sudha Murty in the NCERT English textbook Kaveri for Class 9th. The Narrator. Living in the village with her grandparents. In this chapter, the narrator helped her grandmother learn to read. When the narrator was about 12 years old, she lived with her grandparents in a village in North Karnataka. At that time, transport was slow, so newspapers and magazines reached the village late. Triveni's novel and the main character's wish to go to Kashi. At that time, Triveni was a very popular Kannada writer. Her stories talked about the thoughts and problems of ordinary people. They showed the simple values, struggles, and sufferings of life. Because of this, many people enjoyed reading her works. One of her novels, Kashi Yatre, was being published as a serial in the Kannada weekly Karmavira. The story is about an old lady who strongly wishes to go to Kashi, Varanasi. Many Hindus believe that visiting Kashi and worshipping Lord Vishveshwara brings great religious merit, punya. The old lady in the story saves money so that she can go on this holy journey. The story of the novel Kashi Yatre. In this novel, there is a young orphan girl who falls in love and wishes to get married. However, she does not have money for her wedding. The old lady, who has been saving money to go to Kashi, decides to give all her savings to the girl. She gives up her own dream of visiting Kashi because she feels that the happiness of the orphan girl is more important than her own wish. Narrator. Reading the serial to her grandmother. The narrator's grandmother, Kristakka, could not read or write. Every Wednesday, when the magazine arrived, the narrator read the next part of the serial to her grandmother. She listened very carefully and sometimes forgot about her work. Later, she would repeat the whole story from memory. The narrator's grandmother used to talk about the story's episode with her friends in the temple courtyard. At that time, the narrator and other children played hide and seek. She felt very connected to the old lady, the main character of the novel. Because of this, she was very eager to know what would happen next in the story. Grandmother's reaction to the narrator's absence for a week. Once, the narrator went to a wedding in a nearby village with her cousins and stayed there for a week. During her absence, the grandmother felt very sad. When the narrator returned, tears filled her eyes. Grandmother telling the story of her life. It was summer, and the narrator and others were sleeping on the open terrace of the house. On that moonlit night, the grandmother came and sat beside the narrator. When the narrator asked her what was wrong, the grandmother began to tell the story of her life. Grandmother's early and married life. The grandmother lost her mother when she was very young, and later her father remarried. In those days, people did not think education was important for girls, so she never went to school. She got married at a young age and later had children and grandchildren. She loved cooking for them and feeding them. Since she had not received an education, she always felt sorry about it. Therefore, she made sure that her children and grandchildren studied well. Grandmother's desire to read the magazine. The narrator could not understand why her 62-year-old grandmother was telling her all this. She comforted her grandmother, who was crying, and asked how she could help. The grandmother then told her that during the narrator's absence, she had taken the magazine. She opened it because she wanted to read the story. But since she could not read, she felt very helpless and dependent on others. Although she could have asked someone in the village to read it to her, she felt too shy and embarrassed to do so. She even thought of going to the narrator's village and asking her to read it for her. But she waited eagerly for the narrator to return. Grandmother's determination to become literate. When the narrator returned, her grandmother told her that she had decided to learn the Kannada alphabet. She set a goal for herself that by Saraswati Puja Day, during the Dasara festival, she would be able to read the novel on her own. She asked the narrator to teach her. The narrator noticed her strong determination, but still laughed at her because of her age. However, the grandmother only smiled. The narrator as her grandmother's teacher. The narrator finally began teaching her grandmother. The grandmother showed great determination to learn. The narrator became her grandmother's teacher, and the grandmother became her first student. The narrator did not know then that one day she would become a teacher of computer science. The grandmother turned out to be a very good and hardworking student. Grandmother treats the narrator as a teacher. When the Dasara festival arrived, the narrator bought the novel Kashi Yatre, which had now been published as a book. The grandmother called the narrator and gave her a piece of cloth for a frock as a gift. Then she touched the narrator's feet, which was unusual because elders usually do not touch the feet of younger people. However, the grandmother treated the narrator not as her granddaughter, but as her teacher. She said that now she could read any novel confidently. She believed that teachers should always be respected, no matter their age or gender. And so she showed her respect in this way. The narrator's gift to her first student. The narrator felt deeply touched. She showed her respect by touching her grandmother's feet. She also gave the novel Kashi Yatre as a gift to her grandmother. When the grandmother opened the book, she quickly read the title and the name of the publisher. At that moment, the narrator realized that her first student had truly succeeded and passed with great success.